Hello, everybody. Welcome into Tuesday Night Thunder Season 3, getting ready to kick off here at the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Joining me in the booth tonight, we saw him last season. We get him back again this season, Dawson Wise. Dawson, I'll tell you what, some changes for this season, but it's opening night, and man, I'm excited. How you feeling tonight?
Oh, yeah, I'm really excited. We got a big field on track. We're back in the Xfinity cars. I love these things. I love calling races with these. I can't wait to see what this season brings.
Well, let's get started with some of your pre-race ceremonies here. Looking at the race info. Just as last season, the races in the regular season here are going to be 60 laps. We'll talk more about the new playoff format as we get on through the race. But here for tonight, it's going to be the Talladega 60, as Dawson just noted, in the Xfinity Series again. Everybody's going to have 100% fuel, unlimited tires, but only one fast repair. Fixed setups as always, and there will be that returning stage break on lap 20. We'll see how that plays out. It's going to deliver a couple extra points for these guys, so you know they're going to fight really hard for it. Weather outside, 79 degrees, 54% humidity, partly cloudy skies, winds at 2 miles an hour, track temp over 125 degrees. Looks like it's 127 to get us started. That's going to make these cars slip and slide around. And then, of course, the big, bad, fast Talladega Superspeedway coming in at 2.65 miles with over 30 degrees in the banking. It's going to be a fun one. Let's get in now to your starting grid. The poll for the season opener is going to go to the veteran Ken McCall Jr. Sean Hill making a return tonight. He will start on the outside of row number 1. Daniel Eberhardt, Matt Lee starting off row 2. Matthew Baker carrying an onboard camera for us here tonight. He will start from 5th. Rhett Tucker to his outside in 6th. It's going to be Cody Nagels back in 7th with Garrett Maines in 8th. Kenneth Stamper in 9th. Jeff Merck rounding out your top 10.
Andrew Navarro rolls to the inside of row 6. Jason Maines to his outside in 12th. 13th will be John Mullahan to his outside. Josh McCullough in the 0-5. Row 8 will be Devin Ray in 15th with David Sheets to his outside. Brandon Broadfoot rolls from 17th. A new look for breast cancer awareness on his car tonight with Andrew McGronigal to his outside in 18th. Rounding out your top 20 is going to be Chris McCullough and Jared Mogart.
Moving on back to 21st, Sean Corbett in the 45 car tonight. John Darnell making a return to Money Racing. Saw him in PGR for the last couple weeks, but he's back here now in the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. We'll see what he can do this season. Nathan Rowe will start from the 23rd position. William H. Scott to his outside in 24th. It's going to be Dylan Jones, another one of the veterans. He will start 25th. John Ward to his outside in 26th. Trevor Oswornoth and Heath Job going to be making up row 14. It's going to be Brock Westmoreland and Logan York rounding out your top 30. Mike Davenport will start 31st, and Mark Vondell, don't forget, had a win last season. He's rounding out the field starting from that 32nd position. All right, so as the field continues to roll now through 3 and 4, we talked about Matthew Baker being the only guy with an onboard camera. We'll take a couple rides with him at different points throughout the night. But Dawson, hot track temp, and you know, we've seen a couple races throughout the off season where these guys have been the Xfinity Series, but here tonight is going to be the first time for a lot of them. We got new rookies, veterans, a mix of all of them. How do you think that's going to kind of cause this race to swing?
Oh, these guys are going to have to get used to each other. I mean, we saw it last season quite a bit, and it's going to be no different this season. I can't wait to see how some of the rookies fare, and obviously the veterans, we know what they're going to bring to the table. They're going to be hot and heavy all race long.
Well, it's a top 4 payout tonight, so we'll get into further details on that after the stage break. But right now, the green flag's going to fly. Season 3 of Tuesday Night Thunder is underway. We're racing at Talladega. Across the line to complete lap number 1, and the lead is going to go to Sean Hill as they cross that checkered flag. Talked about Sean making the return as they enter 190 miles an hour down into turn 1. You see he does have a teammate behind him in Matt Lee, but you can't push quite as aggressive in the Xfinity cars as you can in the trucks. However, we're still seeing Ken McCall Jr. try to mimic what they do in the trucks, and that's control lanes, stay out front. He's up to the middle now with Sean Hill in that 7.
Well, even in these cars, you have to manage temps, especially with a hot track over 125 degrees, as you noted here at the top of the show. You have to be able to keep your drafting partners cool if you want to stay up front. It's exactly what Kenny's doing, although it's allowed Daniel Eberhardt, Matthew Baker, Cody Nagels on the bottom to kind of take advantage, drive out front, puts the 90 out front here for the time being. Top line, though, is starting to wind up a little bit. Garrett and Jason Maines and Jeff Merck up against the outside wall.
And you would have to feel like with this hot of a track temp as it is, that outside line's got to roll at some point, and it seems like it is here early. Two of the Maines boys up top, and once Merck gets there, I think you're going to see that third lane start to make a lot of progress. We'll see if anybody else chooses to jump up with it. Eberhardt had the lead on the bottom. McCall took it back, but now you see Eberhardt's going to jump right back up to the middle, see if he can get a run with the 7 car, and all the movement right now. We're going to go 4 wide further back. Looks like that's Jeff Merck, I believe. They got split out for just a moment. He's going to be able to tuck back in line just in front of the 99. I believe that is indeed Rhett Tucker. And a lot of aggression early as Rhett falls in line just behind him, Christopher McCall. And, man, I don't know if I could pick a winner right now. These guys are going at it here 3 laps in.
Well, like I said, they're going to have to get used to each other, but apparently it doesn't take very long. 3 laps in, these guys are swinging at each other. They're throwing haymakers already. Garrett and Jason Maines trying to get the top line rolling. It's rolling a little bit. The bottom has really faded. Kenny McCullough about 3 cars back. He's going to allow Alex to drop down below Eberhardt, get the race lead for the time being. Matt Lee's going to have to suffice to push the 90 and allows Garrett Maines right back into this battle for the lead. He may have it going into 3.
Well, 60 laps, I would figure now's a good time to settle in and try to get comfortable pushing different guys, but everybody wants to lead so much because they know there's going to be extra points paid out at the end of the stage. Man, Sean Hill had a big moment there. He caught it going down into turn 3. Ken McCall Jr. was giving him a little push. Not sure if he maybe bumped the apron or if the push just kind of got him a little bit offset, but that was a great save right there by Sean. He keeps it straight. Further back in the field, couple guys trying the strategy of playing it conservative, one in the wall hard. Further back, that's the 91 car. The 02 is going to get into it. So is Trevor Oswornoff in the 89. Caution is out, and that was Nathan Rogue who took the big impact. One of the rookies in the field here this season. And that car is junked. He's going to have to hit the tow button. Man, that was a big, big hit, Dawson.
Yeah, well, it looked like he just got turned out of line, maybe some right rear contact. Not sure, there was some kind of miscommunication in the second line. I just caught the beginning of it as it started to happen, and yeah, Rogue gets the brunt end of that one. That is a huge hit to the outside wall and collects some other innocent bystanders in it. I think that's just a miscue and maybe something you can get away with in the trucks, but not tonight.
And it actually, looking back on it, looked like pretty gnarly net code. We talked about the 02 also involved. That's Logan York. And now you see him, he's coming down the track here. The 91 maybe made some contact with the apron, came back up, but never really came up. And I mean, they're not even that close to each other when this contact, or rather netcode contact occurs. I mean, there's still probably 3 feet between those cars. But you can see the game thinks that the left front of Logan York makes contact with the right rear of Nathan Rogan. Just hooks him straight into the outside of that travel wall, and now it's a mad dash to miss him. Heath Job is going to yank it to the left, and I think he was able to miss this. In fact, that's a great save from Heath Job. We'll take a little bit of a closer look at that here in just a minute. And they talked about Trevor Oswornoff, unfortunately, just nowhere to go. T-bones him, and that causes a lot of damage to the 89 car. He will have to also use his fast repair through this wreck. I believe it was Heath Job in the 760 car. Yeah, sure enough. Take a ride on board here with Heath. Watch this. First, he sees him start wrecking. He's going to dive low. Too late to bail. Just yanks the wheel to the left, and you can see it. The tires actually lost grip, and he slid and didn't see it from the TV view, but he unfortunately does make some contact with the wall right there. By the time he was able to get it pointed back to the right, just too much momentum headed towards that inside wall to miss it completely. And yeah, that definitely banged up the left front, especially the left quarter panel. Pretty good. Left front fender. And so it'll be interesting on whether or not Heath has to take a fast repair or if he's going to be able to maybe stay out and just try to power through that damage for now, at least till we get to the stage break. I feel like, at this point, if you were involved in that last wreck, I mean, we know that out of the 3 cars, 2 of them were guaranteed fast repairs. But if you're Heath Job, as long as you can stay with the draft, I think you're maybe better off saving it until we get through the stage, Dawson, because we know these guys aren't going to calm down. 13 laps to go. It's probably going to be 12 when we cross the line at the end of the stage. They're going to get right back to 2 and 3 wide racing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another caution here.
Oh, at least one, the way these guys are racing and trying to get reacclimated to the Xfinity cars. And we talked about this the couple of times that we had these guys in the Xfinity cars in Season 2. And it's just, these guys are not used to running these cars as they are the trucks. They're trying to do moves that normally work in the trucks. And the closer they get, the further back we go 3 wide, the easier it is somebody to make a mistake and think, oh, I'm in the truck, I can just push the guy in front of me. And that does not work. And yeah, I'm afraid we'll see at least one, maybe more than that, based on how they're racing so far.
And breaking down how these Xfinity cars run just a little bit more, you got to remember well, actually, you probably wouldn't remember, I guess. Let's go ahead and say it this way. They redid the damage model relatively recently, and before they did it, you could push a little bit harder than you can now, at least maybe in the corners. Now you got to be really careful. It almost, Dawson, for me, kind of reminds me of the next gens with the way they feel. You hear them bottom out through the corners, and that's why guys have to be so much more careful. Seems like now if you just touch that apron, it shoots you up a lot more than it used to. And unfortunately, that one, the right rear net code, we saw it on the old Xfinity cars, and we're still seeing it on the new ones. Everybody trying to kind of manage that, and that's what caused our first wreck. I wouldn't be too surprised if, unfortunately, it causes another one. Just one of those things that's so hard you can't really do anything to avoid it. Just wrong place, wrong time kind of incident. Nonetheless, looking at the lineup here as we get ready to restart, should get the one to go signal this time. Looks like it is going to be Sean Hill leading the way, Daniel Eberhardt in second, Ken McCall Jr. third, Matt Lee back in fourth. And there he is, the man, Matthew Baker, currently sitting back in fifth. There's the onboard view for Baker right now. Doesn't look too tensed up just yet. Doesn't probably feel like there's too much to risk at the moment. And again, with everybody having that fast repair, I feel like there's nothing too stressed about as long as you have it. Now, if you're one of the guys in the back in that last wreck, say Nathan Rogue, Heath Job, Trevor Osronoff. Oh, and actually, wow, Heath Job spun it coming out of the pits here. Taking a look at it, he was able to stop just before he got to the inside wall. Man, that was a close call for the 760, though. Let's take a look at the rear cam. I don't know if you caught that, Dawson, but that doesn't tell you how hot the track temp is tonight. I don't know what does. We got guys spinning coming off of the pits.
Yeah, tires are sliding. You lose grip. It's really easy to do. Although, granted, I've never done it here. I've done it 08 Daytona. It's really notorious. There's a bump right at the end of pit road, and especially when the track is hot, it catches you. And here, not as common, but yeah, definitely going to be an issue for these guys. The rear tires spinning, not gripping the racetrack.
The 05 of Joshua McCall looking to get with his teammate Ken McCall Jr. They're separated currently by, it looks like, Matthew Baker, and then Cody Nagel's back here. Looks like Kevin's in the chat rooting Cody on tonight, and I think normally we would say it at the start, but forgot to mention it. Glad everybody that's tuning in tonight. Well, first of all, I hope you're having a good Tuesday night, and we appreciate you being here. Let us know if everything is looking good, if me and Dawson sound okay. And looking at Sean Hill here, you know, for a guy to miss as many races as I feel like he did in money racing in general, and then to come back and go ahead and sit one spot short of the pole and be leading and as dominant as he is so far, that's got to scare some of the competition. I mean, this guy could be a real threat at taking home the big pot at the end of the season.
Oh, absolutely, and that was expected. I'm honestly kind of surprised he's here. I didn't know how long his break money racing was going to be, but he had been out for several weeks, and I wasn't sure he's gonna make the return tonight. But good to see him on track, and good to see him running well. And yeah, he's absolutely going to be a threat if he can take that long of a break, come right back, and not even miss a beat. Yeah, he's going to be dangerous. One to watch out for sure.
Now, sometimes Eberhardt likes to kind of switch up the strategy. Sometimes we'll see him sit at the back for a little bit and then go to the front. Not tonight. Tonight he has tried to stay at the front, continues to stay at the front, and we'll see if he can maybe grab some stage points here in just a couple handfuls of lap. Again, at the end of lap 20 is when the caution will fly. Only stage of the race. We'll see if we can keep it green. Till then, back into the restart zone we go. Hill and Eberhardt, green flag is back in the air. It's a pretty good even push. A little bit of a stack up on the inside, but I think that's going to help them roll some momentum here down the short chute into turn number 1. And then further back on the inside, some separation starting to occur. You see the 22 and the 94. Big gap between them. On the outside, though, Matt Lee and Daniel Eberhardt, they start to line up looking for a push. Here comes Ken McCall Jr. and Matthew Baker now on the bottom. We'll see, can the outside line get clear by the end of the backstretch?
Well, Matt Lee, definitely probably the best in the business at the first half a lap after a restart. It's insane, his timing and his ability to really lock onto the back bumper and stay locked on even through the corners. We've seen him push Eberhardt all the way down. That's why they have a half a car length lead, although they do have a great third car back there. Garrett Maines has settled in nicely inside the top 5 now.
Oh!
Lee gets into Eberhardt. They're going to spin and include Hill. We're wrecking again here at the exit of turn number 4.
Cody spinning around. Everybody's trying to miss him. They do, but the wreck that collects more of the field is going to be a little bit further out back than this, and there is the aftermath. Matt Lee, he's all torn up. Jeff Merck, along with the 45 of Sean Corbett, they're going to get back rolling now. And it looks like, not sure if that damage on Heath's car was from just the previous wreck or if he got a little bit more right here. Brings out your second caution here, only halfway through stage 1, 10 laps completed. Let's go take a look at it. And this actually starts up front around Matt Lee, who ended up getting the worst of all of it in the wreck. And looking for him right here. All right, here we go. Take a look first from the chopper view. And, ooh. Does he just get a little bit of an offset push? He had... Actually, it doesn't even look like Garrett was to him yet. You see he's riding on the back bumper of Eberhardt. Oh, and then Eberhardt actually is the one that gets turned first. For some reason, it looked like Lee on my screen. But you saw Lee was trying to push just a little bit harder, Dawson. And while it looked like he had him pretty square, he started to just slowly drift off to the left of the bumper. And we talked about it doesn't take much in these Xfinity cars. Turns Eberhardt down into Sean Hill, who's able to save it. Never mind. 7 was hooked for a minute. I thought he saved it, but it was actually the car behind him that I saw initially sneak through. And then all these guys going to travel up the track into that outside wall. Ken McCall Jr., the one that makes it through here. But then Matt Lee trying to check up, hoping to miss this. He gets a little bump from Garrett Maines that sends the 04 up the track into the outside wall. Garrett also going to be able to miss most of this, just kind of a little bit of front end damage. And there you see he clips Cody. Cody trying to save it, keeps it out of the outside wall, it looks like, but you are going to see him slide down, do a couple 360s. And then everybody else just coming along trying to miss it. There goes Eberhardt down the track. Sean Corbett, Jeff Merck, you see them getting together, going to slide to a stop after making contact with the inside wall. And I mean, it just looked like aggressive pushing Dawson again. Everybody's still trying to get used to each other, and unfortunately, it's going to cost some of them a fast repair.
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the pushing in the new Xfinity car. If this was about, a month ago, a few weeks ago, I think Matt Lee gets away with that. It's just the way it is now. They took away some pushing in the corner. You can't do it as much. They gave you some on the straightaways, though, to kind of balance it out. And Lee he's pushing a little too hard in the corner. It's just, it's a product of racing this car. Maybe, had a little bit of a lapse and thought, okay, well, I can get away with this. And you slide right across the bumper. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I tend to notice it too. When you're trying to push it in the corner, especially on the new damage model, you can slide across the bumper, like when they used to put the slip tape on the back of the cars several years back. I don't know if you remember that, to keep them from locking bumpers, but that's almost what it feels like to me, and that's what it looks like happened to Matt Lee right there in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when you're as close as you are to a driver through the corner, remember, you're not trying to push them as hard through the corner as you do on the straightaways, but sometimes when you get brave enough to try to make that push, you're just trying to barely tap the guy, and if you feel like you're offset but you're not quite on him, you try to re-get yourself set, and sometimes if you're already on the back bumper, that's what swipes and eventually sends him around. But either way, they've gotten it mostly cleaned up now. Looks like we're going to get the one-to-go signal hopefully this time, and we will go at the start of next lap. Matthew Baker going to be on the outside here of row 1, Ken McCall Jr. on the inside. And Ken is going to have a teammate lined up behind him. Joshua McCall on the outside of row 2 is going to be Garrett Maines. And row 3, KSR making some noise early. It's going to be Kenneth Stamper, John Mullahan just to his outside, and Cody with the great save. In fact, let's go back actually and take a ride on board with Cody through this save. And, I know he spun out and all, but to not hit a wall at Talladega as fast as you're going is an impressive feat in itself. You see he misses the initial wreck, gets a little bit of a bump from Garrett Maines, and then, he does get a little contact there, it looks like, from Garrett. But it was in the left rear, and I don't think it's going to hurt him too bad. And interestingly enough, with the damage models, it seems like now, Dawson, these guys actually get more affected if they have a lot of damage in the rear, almost than they used to when they had it in the front. Definitely an odd feel, but if you already had to take your fast spare at this point, do you think you're sitting back, or do you still go for these stage points?
I mean, obviously it's up to these guys. These guys are always aggressive, and several of them might try to go for stage points right here. Me personally, I'd probably sit back. It's the opening race. It's not a massive deal tonight to go get stage points. If you've already used your fast repair, I think you can afford to just ride. Maybe get ready for a pit stop after the stage break and let it go from there, and then focus on the end of the race. I think that's what I would do anyway. But knowing these guys, they'll do the opposite. They'll go for all the stage points because that's what we're used to out of these guys. Just hyper aggressive all the time.
In the beginning of the season is always the split mindset of what strategy or approach, rather, do you take into the season? I know some of these guys, all the ones that at least want to win money every week, they're coming out here and they're trying to run at the front the entire race and finish at the front every race. You know, that maybe works out. You grab yourself a win or two throughout the season, but at the same time, you might get yourself caught in a lot more wrecks than, say, somebody on a different strategy that comes in here and just looks to see if they can't get a top 5, top 10 run each week. I would say maybe more towards the top 10. Try to miss all the wrecks, save a fast repair, and then go for it towards the end of the race. And while maybe they don't win as much money on a weekly basis, they get themselves into the playoffs, and they have a chance at winning the big money at the end of the season, which, don't forget, last season we saw your winner, John Hillis Jr., walk home with, I believe it was over $500 just for the regular season championship. Never mind the amount of money that we paid out in the championship race for the top 16 in points. But here tonight, everybody's looking to see if they can cap the first race of the season off with the first place payout of, I believe, over $150. Again, we'll talk more about that towards the end of the race, but right now, you see further back in the field, looks like Matt Lee took his fast pair, so did Nathan Rogue, the guy involved in that first incident. And after all the debris cleaned up, we're ready to go back green.
Yeah, we are, and into the restart zone they come. Kenny McCullough, Matt Baker, here we go into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. 8 laps to go in our only stage of the night, and what a run it is off the bottom for the McCullough Motorsports teammates, Kenny and Josh. Here's the problem, though. Kenny Stamper did not get a great start behind them, and they're going to be struggling to find any help from the 30 or the 6 even further back. That's going to allow the outside to roll. Matthew Baker with Garrett Maines to the lead off turn number 2.
Yeah, you saw Garrett got to the back bumper first, but now here comes Ken's teammate, Joshua McCall, trying to hold him out. Baker not quite clear yet. Now he's going to get it just for a moment. Here comes the help from the third lane. And already back to 3 wide. Looks like it's going to be the 2 and the 1 car on the outside. For a minute, thought it might have been Sheldon Creed trying to work that outside, but it's not. Looks like it's Devin Ray in the Tax Slayer machine here tonight, and he's trying to get linked up with some of his teammates. Matthew Baker trying to follow Ken up to the top here. Ken maybe thought about making a move. Matthew Baker having none of it, and now that puts Joshua McCall on the bottom. Ken's going to be able to take the run back low. Here comes Garrett Maines in the middle. And now Jason Maines, Devin Ray, and the 00 as well. All looking to the top lane. 7 laps to go now in stage 1.
Yeah, power move by Jason Maines. And you can thank Devin Ray for that. Ray has not left the bumper of the 1 car since we went back green, it feels like. And he's going to have that 1 car wound up off turn number 2. They may get clear. They may both get clear. Oh, nope. Now here comes a push from the middle as Baker and Garrett try to side draft, try to keep their line even. That's what they're going to do. It allows Kenny McCullough to get clear on the bottom. Jason hanging tough. Great push by Devin Ray in 3.
And, man, I don't know if we're going to make it to lap 20 at this rate. These guys right back to the action. You just see the cars darting around. They're so loose when track temp is this hot. Tires wear out a lot quicker, and these things are going to be a handful all night. Look back a little bit further there for a moment. Brock Westmoreland, don't believe he got caught up in any wreck side, but certainly with an issue, he's back in 32nd position. And he could be in danger of going down a lap here before the end of this stage, as he is not with the draft. But up front, Ken McCall Jr. continues to lead. You saw David Sheets with a little bit of a wobble off of turn 4. That caused a stack up and got all these lines separated. And that's where some momentum usually starts to get generated, when you kind of have different lanes with different runs. And right now, the outside's going to get a big run, but it's not going to be enough to get clear of the 03 Ken McCall Jr. But at this point, Dawson, Josh and Garrett, they both had to settle in now for the last couple laps of pushing their guy. Nobody's really been able to get the edge, so now it's going to start to come down to that battle of who is going to get hot first and who's going to have to bail out of the throttle first to try to cool their engine.
Well, this tends to be what happens in these Xfinity cars, and we tend to call it parking lot. When both pushers get hot, both lines really can't go anywhere. They kind of get stuck. This is where you expect the third line to go, and here it comes to the outside of the racetrack. Chris McCullough, Jason Maines, Jeff Merck. There's one other car back there. I can't tell who that is, at least from my angle. It looks to be the 92 John Ward. New paint job for him tonight. That's why I couldn't tell who it was. Here they come. Those front 2 pushers are hot, so the outside's going to roll in a hurry. Garrett takes it out from in front of Matthew Baker. Garrett Maines to the lead, headed to turn number 3.
Coke Series driver now up, controlling the third lane. He's got Baker, his ex-teammate, down just a lane below him. Ken McCall Jr. still leads on the bottom, but as that third lane forms up, you got to wonder, is that going to make the middle start to stall out or potentially the bottom? Now Jeff Merck maybe considering a little bit of 4-wide action here. Didn't think we'd have a chance to see this early, but yeah, he sure enough, coming through the travel there, he thought about it, quickly jumps back down in line. It looks like whoever is just behind him, I can't tell right now who it is. It looks like the 92 car. And yeah, sure enough, that would be John Ward. trying to give him a little bit of a push, wants to stick with him. But if you're Jeff Merck and you're trying that aggressive move this early, I feel like sometimes it maybe helps you make some friends if they know you want to go to the front, but certain guys maybe not going to like how aggressive that 60 car is being right now.
Yeah, maybe not. Obviously, you know, John Ward was willing to go, and next you saw John Ward peak again down the back straightaway from behind Merck. So obviously those are two guys that are willing to make the move. They just need a little bit more help if they're going to make it work. Here goes Ward again to the outside, 4 wide. He does have some help this time. A Stamper.
One blew up. We got one blown up.
Around.
Yep, on the apron.
Up. Now we're going to wreck in the tri-oval. Around goes David Sheets. There's a couple more cars spinning sideways. Still green. Now the caution is out.
Corbett getting the worst of it here. He will come to a stop. We got more wrecking ahead. Man, this one's taking out everybody. And this secondary collision, Nathan Rogue involved. And he did not need that. This is going to put the 91's night to an end here early before we could even complete stage 1. Remember, he already had to take a fast repair. Just behind him looked like was the 99 of John Darnell. Has a beautiful looking paint scheme here, but he was involved in that wreck. Now you notice on the front of John Darnell's car and also on the front of John Ward's car, I was just getting ready to talk about it. Before I forget, I wanted to let everybody know. John Ward started a new team. I believe it is called Hyper Motorsports. Left McCall Motorsports, not out of anything that he didn't like, just wanted to start his own team, and so far has had a decent amount of success. He's looking to see if he can spread that success over here to the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. Let's go back and take a look at what brings out your third caution of the night. And I believe it's going to start here with the 05 of Joshua McCall. And I think that 05 blew the motor up. Now remember, he had been pushing his teammates for quite a while. And, you know, honestly, Dawson, I was starting to wonder how he was continuing to push as hard as he was for as long as he was and not getting hot. We saw Garrett, who was the lead pusher on the outside line. He got to jump up. So you knew he was still fine on temps. But, man, oh, man, this is going to cost the 05 a fast repair. And he's going to have to go to the back. But taking a look from the chopper view, you're going to see a puff of smoke out of the back of that green car. Boom. There it is. And I'll tell you what, when you blow up in a pack that's 3 wide, it is very rare, if ever, that you make it out of it completely unscathed. You see Stamper, he dives low to miss it. And initially he does. Oh, man, that's a tough break for Kenneth Stamper right there. You see him, once he jumps low to miss it here, gets on the apron, and then Joshua McCall starts coming down to try to get out of the way, and doors Ken. That's going to send Ken down to the inside wall. Watch this hit for the 30. Boom, heavy damage, and then not sure exactly how the secondary wreck started. It seemed like everybody else had it gathered. But they clearly didn't as they make more contact. Going up to the double zero of Jared Mogard. I saw him get involved. But exactly how he got there is the question looking to be answered right now. And I mean, Dawson, to you, does it just... I mean, is it really, when a guy blows up in the middle of the pack, I feel like it kind of sends everybody into a quick panic because you're expecting that at any moment he's going to come back up the field. And I think Jared, that's what he thought. You saw him turn the wheel a little bit to the right, and then he gets up into David Sheets. That sends Sheets around 45. Corbett piles in, and rest is history.
Yeah, a blown motor stacks the field up big time, especially when it happens right up at the front. And obviously Josh, a very heads-up move to get out of line. Obviously didn't mean to collect Kenneth Stamper. I don't think he saw him. Maybe it was just one of those deals where he's more focused on getting off the racetrack, trying to get to pit road, get out of the way. And Ken really just had no choice but to go to the inside. He could not have gone outside. He would have, taken out a couple rows of cars. So it's kind of one of those deals. And yeah, for the cars further back, when that stack up happens, you have to just kind of commit to a move. And if it works, then great. You're through a wreck and nothing happens. If not, obviously we just saw you get into another car, and like you said, the rest is history, and we pile up several of them in the tri-oval.
And there's that big collision between the 99 and the 91. John Darnell and Nathan Rogan, when we saw from the onboard view, looked like Darnell had saved it initially, but I think he got one steering input too many here. As you see, it straightens out. He puts one more steering input to the right, and that thing finally grabs, just hooks him straight up the track to the right. And man, I hate that for Nathan Rowe, because during that wreck, he missed the first part of it, did a great job steering through it. And at that point, he had probably thought he was through. It wasn't expecting that, and that is a heavy, heavy hit on all 4 corners of the car. His night will come to an end. Definitely not the way he wanted to kick off his Season 3 campaign for the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. But still a long ways to go overall throughout the season. And tell you what, there's a long way to go in this race. Right now, though, John Mullahan is being scored as your leader. So McCall Motorsports continuing to keep at least one of their guys on the front row. It's going to be John Ward in second. He's up 24 from where he started. Jeff Merck being scored in third. Trevor Osmernoth back in fourth. Matthew Baker in fifth. Christopher McCall in sixth. And Christopher McCall in fifth. Matthew Baker in sixth. Ken McCall Jr. in seventh. And it's going to be Jason Maines in your top eight. Running at your top eight, rather. All right, Dawson. I believe that's going to complete the stage. Unless you've heard anything different on it. So wouldn't that have made our stage winner the man that was leading at the time of caution, which we can actually go up front and check that here. And I think it was Matthew Baker. Was it Baker?
I believe so. Yeah, I'll double check. Yeah, at the time of caution, it would have been Baker by about a half a car length or so.
Yep, seeing that here. Looks like it would be Mullahan coming in second, and then Garrett Maines rounding off your top three for stage number one. And again, if for some reason we see the caution come out here after the first lap on this restart, then I guess it would be the admins decided to extend the stage an extra lap, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Now, everybody did come down under this caution to top off on fuel, so that's another reason that makes me think that they did declare the caution the official end to the stage. Don't see Matthew Baker pitting if he was going to lose stage points in the process. And now, let's see, about 40 laps. And everybody does have 100% fuel. I think these guys can probably make it on fuel here. Dawson, what do you think?
It's close. I mean, 40 is typically the number that we all have in mind. It's sometimes a few laps short of that. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but it'll be awfully close. It'll be interesting to see if we can make it all the way because 100% fuel, we're leaning right on the window, I think.
Well, if you're leading the field, in this case, Mullahan or Ward, you're not going to be saving any fuel. If you're further back, though, Devin Ray, Sean Corbett, Jason Maines, that draft is a huge factor in fuel savings. So we'll see. Can anybody make it? Stage one complete. The final stage is underway. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega. It's a good start for the outside line. Both lanes only with two cars right now. Who's going to get to the help first? Here comes Matthew Baker on the bottom. He's going to line up to the back bumper of his teammate Jeff Merck. For a split second, I was wondering if they'd split Mullahan to the middle. No point right now, just going to kill all of their momentum. So they stick to the back bumper right now. Osmernoth falls off of John Ward here just a little bit now. When Mullahan gets clear, we'll see if he does what we've seen a lot of the other leaders here tonight do, whether they've been on the bottom or top, and that is try to control both lanes. John Ward, in the meantime, continues to try to make a run good enough to get clear on the inside as they dive down into three. And he has it for now. Sure enough, he's going to take it, gets in front of his ex-teammate. And now Trevor Osmernoth has the lead on the outside line. Further back, though, Sean Corbett, that was a close moment. Not sure if he got loose, but steered down the track and almost got into the side of Ken McCall Jr.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was getting ready to call a wreck mid-sentence there as Corbett got almost on the door of the inside line. That was awfully close. About as close as you can get, especially with the right rear issues that we've seen even tonight already, but even just in the past few weeks. That was about as close as you get, man. He is really struggling with handling the 45. Clearly out of whack here on this run. I think he's going to need some tires next time we get a caution. He is really struggling.
And if for some reason, if these guys did have to pit under green, you know that they certainly wouldn't take any tires. You would just lose too much time. So, yeah, I think the only chance that everybody's going to have tires the rest of the way is if we have if we have a yellow flag pit stop. Corbett still trying to save it. Can he hold on? He's loose, trying to keep it off the track. So far, so good for the 45, but he's got some sort of major issue going on for that car to be that out of whack this early on in the run. You see it looks pretty clean. Doesn't look like he has damage. But that was a close call. He's now going to blend back into traffic just behind the 02 of Logan York. And this entire pack here, Joshua McCall, Daniel Eberhardt, they're all going to have to condense back into one pack here pretty quick and try to reel back in that lead pack before they pull away too far. Dawson, how about the number 22 here? Brandon Broadfoot saw him last season. Second place was his best finish, so close to a win multiple times. But he made the final 16, so he was one of the guys fighting for that big purse in the championship race. He's back for Season 3, the only driver for Blue Lightning Motorsports. And pretty good looking paint scheme he's got on here tonight, support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah, it's a great look. It's a great cause. Obviously, with it being the month of October, I expect to see some more of those paint schemes as the month goes on. But, yeah, Brandon's a guy I think we saw improve every single week last season. And, I'm sure you can agree with that. It seems like every time we saw him, he was getting a little bit better. He did something else better that he didn't do the week before. He learned. You could tell he was really learning a lot from some of these guys up front and was in quite a few of those races last season at the tail end of the year. I thought he was going to get him one in the last couple of races, and tonight he's right back in the fray, right back in the mix. Expect him to be a contender here as we start season 3.
And for all the money racing that we do broadcast or cover, Broadfoot only really likes to run Tuesday Night Thunder, so it's something about this series that he likes more than the rest. And that's what he wants to put his money to now. He gets on the apron. He wiggles for just a moment, able to hang on to it. But, you know, Dawson, we're going to head to Daytona a couple times throughout the rest of the season. Is hold that thought. Christopher McCall's going to split to the outside here. Trevor Osmanoff, they're going to put him in the sucker hold. To the back he goes as Maines also jumps up. So does Cody Nagels. Osmanoff is no rookie. I'm very surprised to see all these guys split him the way they just did.
Well, this is very odd. Trevor, obviously pretty experienced, as we're almost going to have a moment there. He's going to hold on to it. Wow, great save by Osmanoff there, but it's really odd. I'm kind of surprised. Osmanoff is a former PGR winner, a guy that's up front a lot. He's a great pusher, great in the draft, great leader as well when he gets out front of the field. So really surprising to see them split him. That I'm sure he's taking a mental note of that right now, too.
Yeah, what goes around comes around, they do say. John Ward, though, now back up front. Christopher McCall to his outside. Getting a push from Jason Maines, and here comes the tandem of Matthew Baker and Ken McCall Jr. up top. McCall giving a big push to that 5 car, but you got to wonder how far can that run go with only 2 cars? You see Rhett Tucker and Garrett Maines looking to see if they're going to go 3 wide here. They made a couple thoughts at it. And it looks like they sure enough are. We're going to go 4 wide here. Osmanoff got the split in a little bit of a weird area. Rhett Tucker's going to have to hold a pretty wheel. It's not going to work. They're going to wreck, trying to hold on to it. Here we go. The big one getting ready to happen at Talladega. Jeff Merck up in the air with a big hit on the outside wall rather. Ken McCall Jr. slides back in. Heath Job somehow gets by. But Devin Ray is also involved. There's Christopher McCall. Trevor Osmanoff comes to a stop on the banking. Jason Maines is slow. Mark Vondell has just brought it to a stop until all these guys slide down the track for him to go by. And man, oh man, it's turning into a little bit of a junkyard here. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of guys left at the end of this race, Dawson. That one collected a lot of people, and this is your 4th caution night, so we've already seen some wrecks before this. But let's take a look. It actually doesn't start with the 4 wide. It starts just in front of the 4 wide action here. And, oh, I have a theory of what this might have been, and that's going to be that there was some netcode involved. All right, so keep an eye on Christopher McCall and Ken McCall Jr. Ken, 2nd car up top. Chris in the middle leading. And, yeah, you see Ken gets a little bit loose, starts to turn down. Ooh, that's a really close one to call, actually, on whether or not there was contact. It was really close. Definitely does look like Ken got loose, and we'll talk about why I think he got it. But I think there was a little bit of netcode, Dawson. I don't know if you saw that on your end, but if that's the case, that's a tough break. You see it shoots off the back bumper of Ken McCall Jr., and then further back, everyone's trying to save it. Chris gets up into Ken, and it looks like Garrett gets into the back of Cody, and now they just all start going around. There's the hit for Jeff Merck. Bounces off the wall really hard, and Rhett Tucker got involved, but that might have saved Rhett from even more damage there, as he's going to slide back up the track, but able to overall correct it pretty well. And then everybody just flying in with nowhere to go. Heath Joe gets a little tap in the back, but overall that's going to send him back up the track, where he is going to ultimately sneak right by all this chaos on the high side. There you see Logan York way down in the grass, and everybody else coming in to try to make sure they can miss it.
I mean, yeah, there was some netcode maybe. I think it was more maybe, Kenny gave Baker a shot getting into turn 1, and as soon as he started to follow the 5 back down the racetrack, he kind of shot him to the left. Then he followed him down, and he caught the right rear of Chris McCullough. And there may have been some netcode. I think they were going to hit anyway. It's just one of those deals where Kenny overestimated and misjudged it a little bit, trying to follow Baker down the hill. And unfortunately, it ends in a parking lot in turns 1 and 2. And that's a lot of the leaders that were involved in that one.
Here's a ride on board with Heath Job, as Tuck Duck got tapped in the back just a little bit. And then he's going to sneak by on the outside. Man, that was a close call. Nicely done there by Heath. And I believe he may have already used his fast pair, so that's good news for him to be able to get by that without any damage. And taking one more look here from the wall cam. And, again, Dawson, we really weren't that far into the run in terms of tires. And to see someone like Ken getting loose, I mean, that's certainly what it looked like. You're right. He did go to follow him back down, but got to assume maybe there was just a little bit too much wheel movement for the car to handle right now, at least with these track temps. And, yeah, just lost it. But that's part of the reason that with these Xfinity cars, you'll hear guys say that you got to kind of set the car into the corner. And to a degree, that means you got to kind of have it pointed where you want to go once you get into the corner. And you got to hold that line. If you try to make too too much of an adjustment with the steering wheel through the corner. You're going to see the exact same result that we saw right there, and Ken will learn from it real quick. Again, nothing that necessarily did wrong, just car coming around on him, and as hot as the track temp is today, guys continuing to realize that there are a lot more limits than what we're used to seeing here.
Yeah, well, you do have to set the car into the corner. I mean, you have to kind of, lean into it a little bit more. A lot more fine movements. It's not stuck to the ground like the next gen of the truck, where you can make those quick movements, those little dart with the wheel to follow a guy. You have to gradually let it get in the corner. The car is so heavy and it's not stuck to the ground at all. These cars slide around a lot, especially on a 130-degree track, and we've noticed since the new damage model, especially, just one little bad move either can trigger a right rear issue or can shoot a guy down the racetrack and trigger the kind of wreck that we just saw right there.
Well, we should get the one to go signal this time. Looks like your running order is going to be John Mullahan leading us back to green. David Sheets, teammate, in second. Garrett Maines and Andrew McGronicle. Hats off to him here early. He is up 14 positions from where he started. Going to be starting fourth, and Matthew Baker rounding out your top five. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back for the restart here just about halfway at Talladega. Stay with us.
Ghost Racing Network now has merch. Go to grnmerch.com to browse our selections from stickers to custom-made by-request hoodies and shirts. If you've ever wanted to support Ghost Racing Network outside of YouTube, here's your chance. Ghost Racing Network, for the scary side of iRacing.
Back live at Talladega Superspeedway for the season opener. Tuesday Night Thunder Season 3. Been a pretty good race so far. Had just about a handful of cautions or so, but got everything cleaned up, getting ready to see the green flag again. And we are going to be actually exactly at the halfway mark here once we cross the start-finish line. David Sheets, John Mullahan, the two drivers from McCall Motorsports, looking to see if they can try to control the field here for a little bit. But Garrett Maines and Andrew McGronicle, I don't think they're going to let that happen too easy. Back into the restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air.
And pretty decent push here by both lines. Garrett Maines obviously with a little bit more help out back in the form of Matthew Baker, so the bottom line will roll. John Mullahan will clear the top. We'll see if he goes up immediately. I don't think so. I think he'll stay down in front of Garrett Maines here, but once Garrett gets clear, that's when it gets really interesting. I don't think Garrett's going to want to ride behind the 7 and off of turn 2, and I was exactly right. Garrett Maines to the outside for the race lead. He will get it as the bottom's only 2 cars deep as they run. Baker, Mullahan wait for their help down towards 3. Third line starting to form up a little bit, but not too much. Now Sheets goes to the outside as Maines drops back down and takes the lead into 3.
Yeah, and if Garrett had any questions about whether or not he wanted to jump up, they got answered pretty quick when he realized that he was going to have David Sheets pushing him, and he said, thank you very much. Now he's going to jump right back to the top. Likes what he felt there from the 06, and now that's going to keep John Mullahan in the lead on the bottom. Matthew Baker pushing for all he's worth right here, trying to keep that 7 car. Man, a lot of fishtailing going on in that middle line right there. The 094 got really out of shape, but he held on. Matt Lee trying to get a side draft on the middle as Sheets and Andrew McGronicle continue to wash up just a little bit on entry to the corner. Rhett Tucker, and how about the black and yellow? Can't tell if it's black and yellow or so much more black and neon green, but I think that's actually Andrew Navarro running a little bit of a different scheme than what we're used to seeing on him. And so far, not been the run that we're necessarily used to seeing from Andrew Navarro, but he's starting to make some progress late. And You know, Dawson, when we saw the PGR team draft event, you got to remember how good Rhett Tucker and Garrett Maines worked together, especially at the end of that race. So I think we're actually going to see, of course, well, not just those two working together, but I think they're going to throw Andrew Navarro into this mix, and that's going to be a dominant trio here, as they might have the middle locked up for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see it myself. I was, pretty much right behind those guys on the last few restarts of that race, and yeah, they were a dynamic duo when they got together. It was tough for us to even get around them. We had to resort to going out by the wall, and obviously, they ended up with pretty good finishes for themselves as well in that race. But Rhett Tucker, man, look at this guy's proven a point tonight. He proved it on Thursday as well. He's doing it again tonight, running up front, leading the outside line in front of some of the biggest names in money racing that we see every week. How about the 99? He's having a great run tonight.
He is, and you could see Andrew Navarro slowly getting a little bit braver and braver with when he wants to push the 99, but still staying off of him in the corner. I think that's a good choice. We've seen it going wrong a couple times here tonight. Mullahan, though, so far still holding pretty strong on the bottom. Don't forget earlier we saw the 05, another one of the McCall Motorsports drivers, blow up after pushing a little too long on the bottom. And, man, you see the 7 Dawson. He tries to offset to the right, and he's just trying to cool the oil temps down. That's the only way you can really do it while still trying to push a guy. But, man, the tighter they get, the smaller the chances of really being able to do that effectively, is there's just not that much cool air out there.
Well, there's not, especially not when the third lane comes into play, and it has in a big way. Alex Hill, with the help of John Ward, 2 cars, getting the job done up against the outside wall. Alex kind of bided his time for a little bit, decides it's go time, inside 30 laps to go, and he's right back up to the front of the field. Man, John Ward has shoved him all the way to the front. They were about 7 rows back last time by, and all of a sudden Alex points his nose out front. New leader, the 7 in the trial. Well, how about this run to the front by those 2?
Yeah, it seems like Sean has a thing for going all the way to the back and then going all the way to the front and seeing how many times he can do that through a race. And John Ward's all about it, continuing to push the 7, but he's going to run out of temps here a lot quicker because he doesn't have any help to support him. So you saw he had to stay locked onto that 7 a lot tighter than both of the other lines. And now they're going to start to fade a little bit, and we'll see how far back they fade. They need some help from somebody. But so far, I haven't seen many takers on the outside. Now it looks like Brandon Broadfoot thought about it, but he's quickly going to jump back down to the middle. Up front, though, it's still Matt Lee and Rhett Tucker. How about a little crank it up from Talladega to open us up here for Season 3? Here we go. And we're going to hold it because they are 5 wide. No way they make it out of this one as the 7's on the apron. Make it 4 now. Holy moly, Rhett Tucker in the third lane. Garrett just below him, and they're still going to stay 4 wide now as Ward and Broadfoot trying to make the top line work. Starts to settle back down to 3. And now it is going to get back down to 3 wide. Man, Dawson, that made me hold my breath there for a minute.
Yeah, it was really ironic timing right as we go into the crank it up. These guys decide to go 5 wide in a tri-oval. Mullahan did a good job, to his credit, to keep it down there, and everybody kind of just let him back up. I mean, no reason to really force anything. With still 25 laps to go, but with as loose these cars have been all night long, surprising we got through that one unscathed.
All right, well, we're going to try it again. All bets that these guys don't make it 5, trying to go 6 wide again. Here we go. That's going to do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. Hope everybody did enjoy. Not much has changed, at least in terms of how aggressive everybody's being. Still 3 wide up front. But we do have a new leader. Matthew Baker was able to drop just in front of his NBG teammate there, Matt Lee. Wow, that was a really close call. You saw the fire out of the pipes. Lee had to check up, and I believe Dylan Jones just behind him also had to check up to avoid contact. And that is going to allow the 44 of Navarro to get clear. He's trying to bring Andrew McGonigal with him. It's not going to work, and now as the 44 clears, the 094 almost went with him. That could have been really, really ugly, but he's able to hold it back towards the middle. Meanwhile, up top, you got Rhett Tucker pushing Garrett Maines. Just behind these two, John Ward continuing to see if he can advance his position in the field. Sean Hill is now the lead pusher in the middle. And Daniel Eberhardt still staying with this lead pack. Dawson, you noted during our Crank It Up segment while we were sitting here that second pack, they had caught up. And interestingly enough, the field has gotten really, really oddly spread out to a certain degree here. I'm not sure what's going on. I got to assume it's some pit stops, maybe?
Trouble in the middle of the backstretch.
Oh, big hit. Upside down.
Upside down. Barrel rolling down the backstretch goes Rhett Tucker. Kenny Stamper's in it. John Ward's in it. And that one started when Daniel Eberhardt got turned as Garrett Maines was loose off turn 2 and it stacked the field up on the backstretch.
And forget everything I just said, 'cause it's not going to matter. Well, now we're going to stack the rest of the field back up. But how about Rhett Tucker? First barrel roll we've seen here in a while at Talladega, at least since they changed the damage model to try to make it a little bit more realistic. We'll see how accurate that was here, but let's go take a look at what brings out here your 5th caution of the night within just over 20 laps to go. Red had been running a great race, and this is going to start between, looks like, Garrett Maines and Sean Hill. And watch, you see, looks like Garrett's creeping down the hill. And again, it looks to me like there's some right rear netcode again. You saw Garrett slowly coming down, but he was just looking for a side draft there. And we'll look from his left front, but it doesn't look like he ever actually touches the 7 until the netcode catches the 7, of course, and sends him up the track into the 1 car. That would be the 3rd wreck tonight that we have seen this with. And here we go. Here's the left front for Garrett Maines. Actually, this is Rhett Tucker, but let's go up here to Garrett Maines and watch these two. They'll never make contact. They get close, and you can't really quite see it from that view. Take a look then from Alex Hill, Sean Hill, and this is his right rear. And there you go. You see Garrett's getting close. There's the contact, but I think by that point he had already gotten kind of hooked. I don't know, Dawson, but it looked to me like there was just some netcode. What'd you see?
Yeah, it was a little bit. It's another one, I think, similar to Kenny and Baker and Chris McCullough earlier on in the race tonight. I think it's another one where, yes, there was netcode, but I think it was predicting some contact. I think that the 7 and the 1 were going to hit right there. I don't think there was any way to avoid that one. It got them before they actually hit and were able to realize it. Garrett makes a heck of a save to stay from spinning out right in front of the whole field. Unfortunately, Rhett Tucker, Daniel Eberhardt, and others not quite as lucky further back. That's a wild ride for the 99.
Yeah, and you see, looks like he's trying to see if anybody really tagged the inside wall. If they did, it was further back in the field. And all the guys that were lapped down, it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out for him. Now, Rhett, that's going to be a fast car, obviously, for him. I'm not sure if he was able to drive it back to the pits or not. I think he was able to, which is pretty wild when you consider that he was upside down. But here's another look at whether or not, I want to see if anybody hit the inside wall, because you saw Eberhard go back up. Everybody's trying to miss it. Logan York dives low. Broadfoot slams into Eberhard, who gets into, I think that might have been, yeah, sure enough, Stamper. I don't think anyone actually does hit the inside wall, so that would mean that Rhett Tucker got the worst of it. Here's a look at the onboard. This is going to be a wild ride for the 99. He goes for, looks like a barrel roll and a half. I couldn't tell if he actually got caught in the wall or if there was some contact out back. You see he gets turned and, oh, that's what it is. The 92 of John Ward almost like plowing him into the wall, kind of ramps him up a little bit. And that gets him just high enough. The 760 piles in, and that's what eventually sends him over and gets back on all 4 before it gets too torn up and allows him to drive it back. But nonetheless, we're going to continue to eliminate cars at this rate. I mean, Dawson, we already had a lot of guys a lap down. Looks like Nathan Rogue, Sean Corbett both retired. Jeff Merck at this point, he's being scored 2 laps down. Trevor Osroth coming out of the pits. I mean, we're not going to have that many guys left by the end of this race.
Oh, still a third of the race to go, and the rate they're racing, the rate they're pushing, yeah, I mean, only one fast repair to work with. A lot of guys have invested that already, and so expect more and more guys to continue to see their nights cut short here as we get closer and closer to the end of this one.
And it looks like the lineup going to be Matthew Baker starting. He's going to have lane choice here because he will start from the front. And joining him in that front row for this restart is going to be Andrew Navarro and the 44. Just behind him, Baker's teammate Matt Lee. So I think that pretty much tells you that Baker's probably going to choose. Well, I take it back. I figured Baker would have chose the bottom here to get linked up with his teammate, but he knows how hot the track temp has been here all day, and he is going to continue to see if that top line will roll the best. Track temp still at 126 degrees as it is now 146 sim time, so I think that's a smart choice by Baker. He's going to have a good pusher, and Dylan Jones just behind him. John Mullahan and Sean Hill going to be making up row 3, and there's Garrett Maines and Christopher McCall going to be rounding out row number 4. Well, if fuel was a concern at all before that caution, Dawson, it certainly isn't now.
No, it's not at all now. Even if you don't hit pit road, you can save enough to cover the green-white checkers even for the last couple of cautions that we've had. So everybody's full go from here on out. You can lay it all on the line. You don't have to worry about that gas gauge anymore. You look out the windshield and you go get it.
Let's talk about the payouts here that all these guys are fighting for here tonight. This was based off of 25 entries, so I want to remind everybody that these payouts are actually going to be a pretty decent amount higher than what we're about to tell you. Initially, though, first place tonight was going to be going home with $156.25. Second, $125. Third and fourth, both going home with $62.50. And that was a little bit one of the smaller changes that we got this season from last season. Used to be top 5 payout, but it's top 4, and that's because $156 going to be added to the championship fund from each race. Of course, so we do have 25 entries, and that is going to cause for a really, really big payout at the end of the season. But here tonight, 60 laps. It's gone by pretty fast here, just over an hour now since we took the green flag, and for this restart could potentially be the final one. I see a lot of heavy hitters towards the back, Dawson. They're going to have to make their way to the front, so I think we're going to be 3 wide here before we even make it back to the start-finish line.
Oh, I think you have to. There's no choice there. You have to go now if you want to get to the front, judging on how hot the track is and how much of a parking lot we see at the front of the field. So we're going to find out. 18 laps to go. Who's going to be the first one to make that bold move? Matthew Baker into the restart zone. He sees the green flag. We're back underway, racing down towards turn number 1. Looks like the inside, to me, is going to be more connected. Oh, maybe not. Garrett Maines jumps up immediately as we head off into 1.
And when you see guys start to jump up that quickly, you know that it's go time. Garrett Maines knows that he needs to be on the top, so when that third lane starts to form, he can quickly jump up and try to lead it. Meanwhile, Matthew Baker going to get a really big push, and I'll tell you what, you saw Dylan Jones off at turn number 2. Starting to get offset, and sure enough, it's going to follow down the back straightaway. A bunch of guys off down towards the inside wall. Everybody else scrambling to save it. They do. Now we got cars coming back up the track. Mullahan's going to collect his teammate, Rhett Tucker, and now we're wrecking up front. And man, oh man, chaos everywhere. This is going to bring out another caution. 6th one of the night with 18 to go. And there's Mullahan all scarred up. The 99 of John Darnell is stopped at the end of the back straightaway. And man, you know, you saw how everybody fanned out once they started wrecking. I was worried about that secondary incident. Looked like everybody had kept it together initially, but unfortunately that's not quite going to be the case. Let's go down and take a look at the most recent yellow. And I was just getting ready to note that it looked like Dylan Jones was a little bit offset of Matthew Baker coming off of turn number 2. It seemed like, though, at least for the moment, that they had both got it sorted out and were lining up for a really good push down the back straightaway here. But then there you go. You see Dylan, he gets just a little bit offset again towards the left. And once he gets the back bumper to push Baker, it just sends him right around, sends him down into Navarro. Navarro trying to save it. Boom, big hit to the inside wall for John Mullahan and Sean Hill. And then there is Mullahan coming back up the track. Going to collect Darnell, Ken McCall Jr., Rhett Tucker, and along with the 22 of Brandon Broadfoot. Let's ride on board here with John Mullahan. I was wondering if maybe he got the suspension broke. I did see him kind of get, to a degree, bumped back up to where he ended up. But it seemed like that car went really, really quickly back up to the right. Here we go. So there you go, gets sent down to the bottom. There's the big contact with the wall, and then I think he was just trying to gather it up. You see him straighten the wheel. I think he may have thought the whole field had gone by that point. And unfortunately, he collected a teammate along with a couple of others. So that was the first wreck. Now, there's going to be a secondary wreck further up here. Let's back this up and take a look at it. Not sure exactly who sparks the secondary wreck, but I did see Andrew McGronigal as one of the guys involved in it in this 094. So here we go. There's the first wreck. Everybody makes it through. They're 3 wide here, and then they're going to go 4 wide. Looks like somebody must not have got the memo that was a caution and they weren't racing anymore. And once they get 4 wide, you see, looks like McGronigal starts to come up just a little bit. Davenport's there, and they make some slight contact. That sends the 094 car around. And Jason Maines is going to try to come to a stop, but he does unfortunately slide in. And as slow as it looked like Maines was going, that's going to actually cause him some decent front-end damage. And so yet again, we're going to probably take out even more cars out of the race after this one, as it looks like we're now down to 22 guys currently being scored on the lead lap. Luckily for Baker, he was able to save it and was just in front of all the chaos. So he is still being scored as your leader. Garrett Maines in second. Christopher McCall third. Mike Davenport fourth. David Sheets in fifth. Logan York in sixth, up 24 from where he started. Logan playing the conservative strategy, and it's working out well for him here tonight as he knows it's go time now, and that's exactly what he is trying to do. Mark Vondell just said in 7th, Cody Nagels in 8th, John Ward 9th, and Devin Ray rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because it shook the field up. I mean, in a big way. At the front of the field, look at Mike Davenport. He's up to 4th. Christopher McCullough, what a recovery for him. We saw him wrecked about 20 laps ago. He's right back up here at the front. David Sheets, another trip to the front. Obviously, you mentioned Logan York as well as Mark Vondell. He finds himself in a great spot at the right time. How about the 59? He's in a great spot. But it shook the field up in a big way. Some new players up front.
And just before we get ready for potentially the final restart of the night, though I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up heading into some overtimes later. We are going to take another quick side-by-side break. Stick with us. We'll be right back from Talladega.
Ghost Racing Network now has merch. Go to grnmerch.com to browse our selections from stickers to custom-made by request hoodies and shirts. If you've ever wanted to support Ghost Racing Network outside of YouTube, here's your chance. Ghost Racing Network, for the scary side of iRacing.
Back live at Talladega Superspeedway, getting ready for another restart here after we clean up after that last messy caution, which took out probably about 3 to 5 cars. And by took out, I mean involved in it that were enough to where they had to go pit and repair the damages. And now it is going to be a 14-lap to go restart. Field in the hands of Matthew Baker and Garrett Maines. Baker choosing the high side again. Going to have Mike Davenport pushing him. Not a guy that he normally gets pushed by. But Davenport, again, always finds himself near the front at the end of these races. He knows how to get the job done. Question's going to be behind Davenport. Does Logan York, who we know is very aggressive, Think about splitting that 55, go 3 wide. He does have a teammate, I believe, in John Ward behind him if he decides to make that move. But we're going to find out. Green flag is back in the air. It was a good even start for both guys on the front row. Same thing for the second row, but Logan York's going to beat to the back bumper of Mike Davenport before David Sheets gets to his teammate Christopher McCall. And man, oh man, Dawson, this outside's going to have a big run. That inside just not very organized right now. Down the backstretch, Garrett Maines has to throw a big block. He's able to hold it, though, and Matthew Baker got to think he did not see that one coming. Well, some people may not like the block, but hey, nice guys finished last, so you got to make sure you're aggressive if you want to win one of these things. Logan York drifting up just a little bit right there. He's getting a push from Devin Ray. Garrett Maines loses his help as Matthew Baker jumps to the bottom, and he's hoping that Christopher McCall and David Sheets can give him enough of a push to where he can be in position to control the lines as they are already back to 3 wide racing. How about the run, though, from John Ward and Andrew Navarro? They're going to get almost 2 cars clear as Navarro chooses to stay up. Jason Maines continues to push that 44, the 92, falling back. And, oh, man, some contact right there. John Ward and Jason Maines starting to beat and bang a little bit here as Navarro's going to jump down to the middle. Dawson, as much as these guys are switching lines again, I don't think we're going to make it to the white flag.
Yeah, all is good for the one car for now. He had to panic a little bit as the third line got past him, but right back out front. The third line now fades. Jason Maines, Devin Ray starting to fade in the rearview mirror a little bit. Logan York, though, I think benefited the most out of that. He's on the front row, and he's got a heck of a pusher behind him in the form of Matthew Baker.
And I got to apologize, Dawson, because I had you muted for your last transition. We got it settled out now, though. But nonetheless, they're going around Daniel Everhard, who I did not realize had as much damage as he did. But sure enough, he had been involved in a couple of the incidents. And you know, I still like the idea of staying on the track here and trying to finish the race because we have seen some crazy things happen at the end. And if he could be in position to get on the lead lap for that final lap of the race, and man, oh man, he could somehow find himself a winner if the rest of the field wrecks, which could not be ruled out of the picture right now. Here we go, Navarro back to the bottom. That's going to keep Garrett Maines up top. John Ward now the lead pusher on the outside. Logan York, first time now in position to be the lead pusher here tonight, and it's going to be on the inside of the back bumper of Andrew Navarro. And I always feel like it's a little easier to push when you have one of the pros such as Andrew Navarro in front of you because you know you can get away with being a little bit more aggressive, maybe in areas where you shouldn't be, but big push from the outside, and that's going to get Garrett Maines clear. He doesn't jump down until John Ward loses a little bit of momentum. He's trying to keep those lanes even, and he does a great job of it.
Oh, one of the best in the business at judging the run. Garrett Maines, he knows exactly where to go and when. He goes back to the outside. John Ward says, no, sir, and goes further up. The problem is, no, but he goes with the 92, so he's left by his lonesome in the outside line. See if he can get some help a little further back. Oh, boy, Mullahan, he's bouncing off of cars left and right in the middle, but stays behind Garrett Maines. John Ward, though, he's going backwards in a hurry, waiting on his teammate to get back to him.
Yeah, you keep seeing here, as soon as one guy slips up just a little bit, as soon as they try to save it, they almost make 3 other guys have to do the exact same things. It keeps causing these big stack-ups and close calls, but they're now back to 2 double file lanes here throughout the entirety of this first pack. We got a couple cars that are not quite linked onto this first pack, but you saw, as you noted there, John Ward made the move. No one went with him. But the good news for him is he fell in line just in front of a teammate, Heath Job. And maybe if they can get 2 cars out there, it'll be a little bit more encouragement to the rest of the field to try to go out there and get that third lane working as we are coming to 9 laps to go this time.
Yeah, still nothing out in the third lane. I'm a little bit surprised, but some guys just wait for those second lanes to get hot. Maybe trying to save some temps and get back out there. You know, I'd look at a guy like Devin Ray, John Ward, somebody a little further back, Mike Davenport, or Dylan Jones, who decides to go to the third lane right as I start talking about it. So maybe he's the guy that spurs the third lane on a little bit. But for now, just too wide as Logan York dives out of line. He's going backwards here. That's very interesting. Not sure what's going on in the 0-2, but some kind of unknown issue has him going backwards in a hurry.
And I don't think he necessarily wanted to go backwards because he didn't really fall as quick as it looked like he should have. And unfortunately, he's going to cause a wreck. back in the field. That's going to bring out the caution as they are all piling up. Looks like 4 or 5 cars in this one. Cody Nagels is in it. So is Joshua McCall, Jared Mogard, Mike Davenport. But it looks like, again, Trevor Osmanoff is going to get the worst of this one. At that point, you got to make a decision as a driver to either go up or stay down. You hesitate, and that's what causes issues. Let's go take a look back at it here. So as you noted, he had a checkup for a reason. We're not exactly sure if you're on the back straightaway, but you want to go to the chopper view, and at this point, if you're Logan York, you see there's a little bit of a gap. It's a little close. And, you know, I will say Kenneth Stamper certainly didn't cut him much slack right here, and I'm a little surprised at that because you would think at this point Kenneth would maybe give him a little bit of room to work with. But let's watch it in slow motion here, and then we'll take a ride on board as if Stamper ever bails out. So you see Logan start to commit up. Stamper bails out of the throttle, and then Logan dives back low, so they're okay here. And now Kenneth is going to actually come down just a smidge, and then Logan at that point on an awkward spot on the apron sends the car up. And once they make contact, sends both of them into the wall. So I'm going to take it back a little bit. I don't so much put that one completely on Logan in the sense of I think he expected somebody to cut him a little bit of slack, but at the same time, Kenneth Stamper, he's the guy on the track. He's got all the right of way to it. So just maybe a miscommunication between drivers. One of those things that they may not be in verbal contact, but just kind of a thing that you usually can get sorted out on track.
Yeah, it's a combo of things. I think Logan hesitated a little bit. He was going to come back up. Looked like he had a gap and was back up on the racetrack. And as soon as Kenny started to close up on his back bumper, he, I guess, figured Kenny's not going to lift. He's probably going to just hit me. And then he starts to go off the racetrack. And at that point, obviously, then Kenny takes the lane back because, like you said, he has the right of way once Logan's on the apron. And they come together. And, yeah, it's a miscue, but also maybe a little bit of hesitation out of Logan York.
Could not agree more. Well, we're going to go back up front now. Andrew Navarro being scored as your leader. Matthew Baker in second. Garrett Maines in third. Back and fourth is going to be John Mullahan. And rounding out your top 5, Christopher McCall. So McCall Motorsports going to have a little bit of muscle up here towards the end. Jason Maines is in your top 6 as well. He'll try to get with his teammate Garrett. See what they can get done here towards the end. But Baker's the only guy that we've got on driver cams here tonight. And he's running inside the top 3. So let's see if we can maybe pull him in here for a quick interview. Hey, Baker, this is Austin and Dawson up at the booth. You got a copy?
What's up?
All right, well, you're sitting in third right now. Excuse me, it looks like second, actually. I don't know what I'm saying, but sitting second, going to be starting on the outside line, depending on which lane Navarro takes. How you feeling about your chances if you have John Mullahan behind you?
Yeah, I need Garrett to stop throwing blocks above his level. It's been really messing us up front, and it buried me there for a little bit, but luckily Logan jumped out of line. But just some real hard and aggressive racing. It's been a rough race this whole time. I've been able to avoid all of it, luckily. So the luck's on my side today. Hopefully it can keep coming through and we can pull out a top 5 finish. Just trying to get a good finish here for the boys. Everyone else has been caught up in the mayhem, so just trying to finish it off strong here.
Well, it's the first race of the season. We know everybody's still trying to get a feel for each other, but, it's never too early to start thinking about the championship. And me and Dawson touched on the differing strategies you see at the super speedways throughout the season for Tuesday Night Thunder. And do you go out here and try to just win every week, or is there a certain point where maybe you try to just go for a certain amount of points each night?
I think points is key. Getting the win, definitely, it secures your spot in the playoffs as long as you run 75% of the races. So it's important. So getting that win out of the way is definitely a big deal. It's going to be tough here with Andrew and Garrett lined up on the bottom. Hopefully Mullahan can give me a good push. He's been doing a good job tonight, despite what everyone's saying. I think he's done really well pushing in these cars. It's definitely one of his strong suits. So I trust him behind me. I may be eating my words here in a couple laps, but we're just out here having fun, driving in circles here at Talladega.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Baker, and hopefully we'll see you in victory lane here in a couple laps.
Thanks, bud.
All right, and as we slide Baker back down to his teammates here, see what he's got a pretty big team here tonight. Didn't even think about it because they haven't really been together too much here tonight, Dawson. But I mean, Alex, Jeff, Cody, Matthew, of course, Baker and Lee. they're all NVG, but we have not seen them dominating as they usually do here tonight. And we're going to get delayed green here. Going back to the point I was getting ready to touch on, Baker said, I guess from the sounds of it, maybe people have been giving Mullahan a little slack tonight, and I'm not sure if, I wonder if he thought maybe I meant slack towards Mullahan there when I said you got him behind you, but I was meaning the same way that Baker said there towards the end. Mullahan is one of the most aggressive pushers, and 9 out of 10 times it works out in your favor. I mean, you got to be aggressive when it comes down to pushing if you want to win one of these races at the end, and again, Baker's one of those guys that can usually hold on to it a little bit more than everybody else, so that's going to give Mullahan a little bit more wiggle room to work with in terms of how aggressive he wants to push that 5 car.
It does, but then you also have to consider Garrett Maines running on the bottom, and he's got a teammate running 6. That's really going to be, it's going to be interesting to see what Jason does on this race start. Does he jump out of line, go 3 wide, try to help Garrett out a little bit, stall out the middle line? We typically will see that when the top line first goes, the middle line stalls, Garrett will be able to get up and be able to control the middle. I think that might be in the playbook here for the Maines boys when we get back to green in an extra lap. Not sure what the delay is for. I think there was some kind of incident a little further back trying to get lined up, but maybe that's in the playbook for Jason Maines. Jump out, help Garrett, get Garrett up, and then go from there if you're those two.
Well, Baker did say he wasn't really a fan of the blocks, some of the blocks that Garrett has been throwing here tonight. So I don't know. We'll see how patient that 5 decides to be with that 1 car here. If he clears himself just a slight bit too early on this last, or potentially last restart, going to go green with now. It's going to be 4 to go. And again, if we can make it to the white flag, the race will be official. And it looks like Logan York in the chat says, I got bumped, got loose. And that's certainly what it looked like initially, but more or less talking about what kind of had led up to it down the back straightaway. But nonetheless, let's talk a little bit, Dawson, real quick about the format for Season 3 here for Tuesday Night Thunder. Looking at the schedule, going to be back at Talladega next week before we go to Daytona on October 17th, and then back to Talladega. Just kind of alternates. Now, one of the, I guess you would say, wild cards that we're going to throw into this season is on November 21st, we head to New Atlanta. That's going to be a fun one. And now we have an actual playoffs with a set of races this season. Haven't seen that before. The round of 16 will get kicked off at Talladega, followed by Daytona. Round of 8 is going to be at Talladega, and then the round of 4 is going to be at Talladega. So I'm wondering if that'll mean even bigger payouts for those final 4 than what we've seen in terms of the championship purse these last few seasons. I'll tell you what, that is going to be really, really exciting. We'll see how that pans out. So maybe come down to a little bit less of just pure points throughout the season. And getting wins is certainly going to help your case, accumulating some of those stage points, but you're going to have to be consistent, have a good night, and tonight starts it all off, so we'll see how the finishing results look at the end of the race, and I think that's going to determine how everybody runs their season from here.
Well, it throws a wrench in it, too, because we've seen so many times the last few weeks the leaders get caught up in a last-lap incident. Somebody drives through and ends up with the victory, and this season, if you run 75% of the races, that wreck avoidance could lock you a spot in the playoffs. So that's a whole new wrench you head into the season. I can't wait to see how it pans out.
It's a good format, too, because you know if a guy gets a win, he knows that he's got a chance to be in the playoffs. He's going to want to be in there, so he'll probably run 75% of the races, and all that's going to do is continue to add more and more money to that championship pot, which, boy, that will be a fun race to broadcast looking way ahead to the future, the championship race. But it's all going to start here. Back into the restart zone we go. Green flag is back in the air. It's going to be 4 laps to go at Talladega. Who is going to win the season opener? Not a great jump for the outside line. Navarro is off to the races. Garrett Maines pushing as hard as he can for everything he's worth here, trying to see if he can get himself and that 44 clear of the 5 car. Mullahan continues to hold him off, but now Navarro's going to jump up to the top. Baker with no choice but to push right here. Down the back straightaway they go. Will Garrett have a chance to pull alongside the 44?
He's certainly going to try. He's got some help coming. The former Chris McCullough and Devin Ray as well. He goes right back to the bottom in front of the 1. That was smart by Navarro off, too. He did not wait to see if the 1 was going to get clear. He took it himself. Don't react. Be the one to act. And that's exactly what Andrew Navarro did. That's the instinct he has, the front of the field. And he keeps Garrett locked on the bottom line. What a great instinct. What a great strategy there for Navarro. And, well, it was fortunate for him for a little bit. But here comes the outside. Matthew Baker's going to nose out front. 3 laps to go at Talladega.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be a lot easier to fend off that run before you're at full speed than when you are, and now that they are, Baker and Mullahan, the run just way too big for Andrew Navarro to do anything about it, and it's going to be a little bit harder to control the lanes at this point because even if you are Navarro and you slide up to make a block, at this point in the race, Baker is probably just going to go ahead and split him 3 wide. Garrett Main's not going to be able to help Navarro out at all, even if he wanted to. So I wouldn't be too shocked if this 44 stays on the bottom, at least for now, unless they're able to somehow get 3 wide, in which case the middle would be a good lane to try to block because you know you're not going to get split. But looking further back, John Ward, David Sheets, Heath Job, I think those are going to be one of the first cars that we see jump out, wreck out back. 2 cars hard into the wall, and cautions back out. Looks like the 60. Oh, as he gets T-boned. But I couldn't tell if that was Daniel Eberhardt. No, that's the 91 of Nathan Rogue. Might have been Eberhardt. Man, we've got a mess here. There's still wrecking here. And that brings out your 8th caution of the night. Man, oh man. And there is the 91 of Nathan Rogue. He's going to just... What in the world is he doing here? And he's going to get himself disqualified as he just went ahead and drove it backwards. He's had a rough night, and I think he'd had enough. Let's go back. Take a look here at where the caution starts. It was 2 cars that were at the back of the pack, one of them being Jeff Merck. And it looks like that's Mark Vondell. The other car, Mark jumps out. Ooh, does Mark hook him, or is there a little bit of netcode here? See from the chopper view. See Mark coming down the track, and I think there's some contact. Not sure if Mark was maybe trying to tuck behind Jeff or just trying to come down to get a little bit of a side drop, but comes out just a little too far, makes some slight contact. I was trying to see if Jeff washed up at all. I don't believe he did. Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like Jeff really comes up at all. So either way, once they make that contact, the 60 and the 59 go hard into the outside wall, and there's the onrushing 91 machine of Nathan Rogue. He absolutely piles in, and then Dawson, I don't know if you've seen this, but he obliterates the inside. I don't think he ever took his foot out of the gas.
It's been that kind of night for Rogue. He'd been a rough night. Not the night he wanted right from the jump, and yeah, obviously some frustration coming out right there as he gets involved in yet another incident late in this one.
Got to take a view of this. Okay, so let's break this down for you. Here's the 91 currently in turn number 3. And did he actually, you know what? He actually had a fast repair. And I don't know how he got it because we saw him involved in 2 wrecks tonight. And both of them had absolutely destroyed that car. So I'm really amazed that somehow he still had a fast repair. But either way, going back on the cockpit view, he sees the wreck and, I mean, just stays in the gas. That's one of those things where it's a tough break, but you got to let out of the gas, and I think he honestly would have missed it. But nonetheless, he stays in it, and then once he hits it, stays in it some more. Not sure if, I mean, you'd almost think the throttle's stuck, but don't think that was the case. Clobbers the inside wall before coming back up here, and he's just going to let it roll to a stop. Drives it backwards, says, I've had enough for the night. And that is going to be how Nathan Rogue's first race Tuesday Night Thunder Season 3 ends. Not sure
it's
he
a
might...
tough break. I mean, not to cut you off, but I think either some kind of technical issue, maybe when he hit Merck, I'm not sure if, something went wrong, or maybe just checked out mentally. I mean, that can tend to happen. It's happened to me before. You're having a rough night, and you're running out back and kind of by yourself, and you just got to check out. I mean, I'm guilty of it every now and then, just, not to this degree, but, maybe just check out. You're not really there. You're just trying to log laps, and unfortunately for him, really gets a big piece of that wreck in Jeff Merck.
Yeah, I agree in the sense of, at that point he may have been trying to stay in the throttle because the caution maybe hadn't flown exactly when they first wrecked, and he was thinking, well, there may not be a caution. I got to stay in it here. But then after the fact, sometimes as a driver, you think for sure you have a wreck miss, which it looked like he did. I mean, both cars were stuck on the top of the track until he got there when Merck slid down. And at that point, you almost just kind of drop your hands from the steering wheel and just stare like, kind of, man, really? And that might have been what happened there. But, hey, in the chat, looks like Brandon Broadfoot says not racing this series anymore. But good luck to all the competitors. And, Brandon, I hate to hear that, but we'll see you next week. And then Kevin Freese says, does that qualify as ARCA braking? And I'll let you be the judge of that. But, no, and all joking aside, Brandon, unfortunately, we hate to hear that. That had such a good run last season. But, hey, man, at the end of the day, you got to do what you want to do. And if something's not making you happy, you can't keep doing it. Nonetheless, Brandon Broadfoot, another guy who had a rough night tonight, not of his causing, but involved in a couple different wrecks. And it's been that kind of night for a lot of these drivers. I mean, looking at who we still have currently on the lead lap without any damage is probably only about 15 cars, and then guys that are on the lead lap in general going all the way back to 21st. But, I mean, looking at the list of guys that are out, it looks like it's about 10 cars deep right now. So Talladega has definitely taken its toll on everybody here tonight.
Well, I think Baker said it best. I mean, when Baker was talking to us a few minutes ago, he said it's been a rough race just from start to finish, and I'm putting it bluntly, I think he's right. You know, as these guys get reacclimated both to each other, to this format, and to this car, you can tell there's some learning left to be done. There's some adjusting left to be done, and obviously a lot of guys not the night they were hoping for to start their season.
All right, well, this is going to put us in overtime number 1. We'll see if we can finish it in just that one overtime. The overtime rules are as follows. Going to take the green flag. If we can make it around to take the white flag, race will be official. However, if we get a caution in that first green flag lap, then we will rack them up and try it again. Baker's mom in the chat says, "Let's go, guys. Stay calm." And I don't think they're going to stay too calm here. I think they might get 3 wide here before we get to the white flag. But man, oh man, how many times, Dawson, do we see a big wreck on the last lap? And tonight kind of has that feel. And the reason I mention that is because if you're one of the guys that finds yourself trapped far enough back on that white flag lap that you don't think you're going to make up many positions, just back it down just a little bit more. Set yourself up for how are you going to get through that big wreck. I mean, once it's the last lap, you don't take your foot off the gas, so you know you're going to be full throttle through it. But can you pull off some Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights, or Days of Thunder rather, and somehow get through it, maybe get yourself in the top 4 position, get some money?
Yeah, we've seen guys do it in the past. I mean, the most notably, at least in my recall, is Trevor Osmernoth in PGR several weeks back. He missed a couple of wrecks on the last lap, was able to drive through and get himself a pretty nice payday. I don't know. This race, you're right, has to feel somebody's going to be able to do it as well. We're going to find out. 2 laps to go. If we get to the white, this race is official. Green flag is in the air. Overtime attempt number 1 is underway. Andrew Navarro, Matthew Baker racing down to turn 1 as their help starts to come to him.
And there was a little bit of a stack up there further back on the inside. Not sure how that's going to translate up front. They still have 3 cars locked up pretty good, but that outside has about 3 more. Matthew Baker able to hold side by side with the 44 of Navarro for now, off of 2. 44 still not clear yet. If he does, something's telling me he's going to jump up. He's not going to have time to do it, though. Now Baker and Mullihan are going to get split 3 wide. Jason Maines and David Sheets to the top they go, and now the 44 is going to surge ahead down into turn number 3. Oh, he gets turned.
Unbelievable. He gets turned off the bumper of Garrett Maines, and we're piling them up right at the front of the field. This is a lot of front runners involved.
Jones is in it. The 2, Devin Ray. I can't even name all the guys that are in this one. And there's the 44, Navarro. Some more contact after the wreck was over. And I did not see that one coming. But let's go back and take a look. Brings out either your 9th or 10th caution. Running out of fingers to count them at this point, but here we go. Taking a look first from the chopper view. So Garrett pushing Navarro, and just, on entry there, you see the 44 gets pushed up maybe just a smidge by Garrett, and that's offsets Garrett to the left. And then once he bumps him again, that's just going to send him right around, and then everybody else with nowhere to go. It piles up, gets sent further back, and then 55, Mike Davenport, he takes the biggest hit out of all this. Joshua McCall and Jared Mogard, Christopher McCall even, I think they were able to save it for the most part without getting too much damage. But then everybody else involved in this one. And it's probably going to take out, yet again, a couple more cars here. I think Eberhardt somehow finds a way to sneak through all of this. So we're taking a look at now. Yeah, he does. You see him behind it. He's going to dive low to miss the first part of it. Gets around Logan York, sees them wrecking again. Now he's going to go high. And take a look here from the wall cam on this one. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, just again, aggressive racing here with 2 laps to go. I still think that the track temp has been playing so much havoc on these guys tonight. And I think if we see it a little bit cooler next week, I think we're going to see a different result in terms of the racing.
Yeah, I think so. It's another one of those deals, man. It goes back to what I said with the slip tape earlier on. It's so weird. I've never seen this before, and I ran quite a bit of the B class racing this past week as well officially, and I didn't even have this happen where we were sliding across bumpers. I mean, it happened, but not to the degree we've seen it tonight. Just a weird phenomenon. There's been 3 or 4 wrecks caused by guys that we're just not used to calling out for causing wrecks. I mean, Garrett Maines, we're not used to calling him out for a bad push, and right there, it looks like he just slid across Navarro's bumper. It's so odd, and it's something I have never seen to this degree before.
Well, currently, Looks like we have about 12 to 15 cars still on the track. So if you somehow still have a clean race car, much or less, I don't know if there's anyone in the field except for maybe Matthew Baker at this point in the race that still has a fast repair, then you are in great shape. And Baker is going to lead this restart again, continues to miss each and every wreck by staying at the front. John Mullahan's being scored in second, Christopher McCall third, Jason Maines back and forth, John Ward in fifth, David Sheets in sixth, Heath Joe back in seventh, Jared Mogart in eighth, Andrew Navarro ninth, and Dylan Jones 10th. But with only a top 4 payout, you really probably would only feel comfortable if you're leading here. Even if you're in the second row, once they get 3 wide, I don't know if you feel so much comfortable anymore because you're not guaranteed to be in the top 4 if you're 3 wide, 2 rows deep. But man, oh man, I'm looking at some of these cars out here. Dylan Jones, the front end is not even on that car. I'm not sure how he's still able to stay out, but he's one of the guys here that's going to probably hope that we make it to the white flag and then they all pile up. Maybe he can drive through it, get himself into either good position or top 4. And, even if you don't get top 4, but you stay out here, whatever positions you can gain is going to help you through the rest of the season if you plan on running it, because it always seems like, Dawson, I mean, you can speak to this before. We've both been in leagues or races where at the end of the season, it always comes down to just a couple points on whether or not you advance to the next round or win the championship. And I'm thinking we're going to see something similar here at the end of Season 3 for Tuesday Night Thunder.
Oh, absolutely. I can point to leagues I'm in right now where we're in the playoffs, and even the gap for myself tomorrow night in my league race is only about 15 points after, 2-3 races in a playoff round. I mean, it's only one disastrous night away from, losing out on the next round of the playoffs, losing out on making the playoffs altogether. So you're right. In the end, for some reason, it always comes down to who has the best race at the end of the season. And if you have some chaos, some calamity happen to you and ruin your night, it derails your season in a hurry.
Certainly does. And this is going to put us, like I said, in overtime number 2. I believe we do have 3, so this wouldn't end the race here even if we get another caution. But certainly hoping that these guys can finish everything under green. Hey, again, appreciate everybody that's been sticking with us here tonight. 7C's event says crazy racing. Boy, you got that right. But nonetheless, we're getting ready to wrap it up here in probably about the next 15 minutes or so, hopefully at most. And another quick note, I wanted to thank, again, most recent Super Chat, of course, was Baker's mom. But overall, I'd like to probably say it's probably best to retract from the Super Chats as much as we appreciate them. And as cool of a feature as they are, from what I've heard from where the money's going, is that we're just not getting it from YouTube, really. I mean, I think we made, since we started, probably over $350 in Super Chats. And it seems that over 40% of it has just disappeared. So don't want you guys to keep wasting your money. So I'm going to say just go ahead and keep it to yourselves as much as you appreciate it. And the best way you can show your support, just make sure you hit that subscribe button or like button. And me and Dawson certainly appreciate it up here. And thanks to you, Dawson, for making a comeback this season. It's going to be another fun one.
Oh, absolutely. I had a ton of fun last season. I'm still, I've been in this for a little bit longer now. I kind of, understand some of the guys, some of the teams, some of the dynamics that go into this, and I can't wait to see how it develops because, man, last season was a heck of a run all the way to the regular season championship race. Then, obviously, the drama that happened there and the championship race, it really set us up nicely for what should be a really great Season 3. I'm glad to be back.
Absolutely. Next place we head, by the way, on Ghost Racing Network, Thursday night to the PGR Thursday Night Heat Series Team Draft event. We saw Dawson racing in it last week. Phenomenal event. Made me jealous. I wanted to get down there and go race, but, hey, maybe for the next one, nonetheless, we'll be up in the booth for it. Make sure you come check it out. All right, here we go. Overtime number 2. 2 laps to go. Can Matthew Baker hold on and go 1 for 1 on the season? Mullahan on the inside. Matthew Baker on the outside. Green flag is back in the air. It's a good start for Matthew Baker on the outside, but Mullahan was able to hang even. Now he's looking for a push. Meanwhile, it looks like Jones hops out of line. I'm thinking he's fallen to the back with the damage that he's acquired. And it's going to be a dead heat down into turn 1, and I don't think we're going to see Mullahan jump up if he gets clear because he has a teammate behind him, and Christopher McCall is saying, I will push you to the finish, brother. Hold it straight for me. Now we're going to see Jared Mogart. He jumps out of line. Daniel Eberhardt somehow back in the mix, and that car looks clean. He might have a chance at this thing before the race is all said and done. He's starting to get a run now down the back straightaway.
Yeah, Mogart, the first one to jump out 3 wide. Unfortunately, nobody went with him. He's still waiting on some help, still hanging tough out there, but I don't think he's going to get any assistance anytime soon. David Sheets looks out of line. Eberhardt almost closed that door on him. And it's still too wide. I'm kind of surprised. No third line yet. And looking back a little further for who's going to go, Garrett Maines is up, Devin Ray, and, well, there you go. Garrett Maines to the outside. There goes Eberhardt. Nagels is with him. That's a strong group of three to the outside. Baker leads it, but, oh, maybe not for long. White flag at Talladega.
And they made it, so the race is going to be official. Now the question is, can we make it back clean? Matthew Baker still leading the middle. Man, Jason Maines giving him a big push. You could see that 5, the back end slightly wiggling around. He is doing everything he can to hold on. Christopher McCall trying to cool off before he makes his final push all the way to the checkered flag. And they're going to wreck. Looks like John Mullahan hard into the inside wall. They're wrecking further out back. This is going to collect everybody except the top 5. And somehow Garrett Maines is now up to second. He's pushing Daniel Eberhard. He might have a chance to win this thing for that. Jared Mogard. It looks like John Ward. They're going to try to see if they can get there. I don't think they're got enough time. It's going to be a 3 to 4 person race to the finish. Now Garrett Maines jumps out of line. What's the move too early? Matthew Baker, he's going to try to make it 3 wide. Up top he goes. Garrett Maines looks for the block. Nothing there. Baker's got the run. Is it enough at the line? Mogard goes with them. Baker is going to squeak it out. He wins the season opener at Talladega. What a finish.
I mean, where do you even start? Obviously, Baker squeaks out a win right there. It was a perfect move to the outside. Picture perfect in the tri-oval. But, boy, Jared Mogard, what a run at the end. I thought he was down and out. He flies into the picture there in the tri-oval. He was about 50 feet short of probably winning this race, but he comes home second anyway. And Garrett Maines, I don't know if he's going to be satisfied with third after that one.
Yeah, I think he just made the move a little bit too early, but he's a coat guy. I'm not going to question him. He knows what he is doing out here. And because of that, that allowed Baker to really suck up here in a hurry down the short chute. But you know what, Dawson? I think you're right. I think Jared Mogard is the reason that Matthew Baker wins this race. There's the big run. Baker takes it to the top. Maines tried to block it, just couldn't quite make it work. Baker's got the run, and I thought Mogard was going to give the push to Garrett, but man, there it is. It wasn't much, but it was enough of a tap to Baker, and then I didn't even realize at the line that he managed to somehow get to the outside of Baker and make it 4 wide, and man, you're right. If he had about another 100 yards or 50 feet, whatever, he may have had enough to win this race. Holy moly, what a finish. Baker wins it, though, by looks like 4 100ths of a second, but the finish for second was the closer one. I mean, from what I'm showing, looks like the gap was less than 1,000th of a second between Jared Mogard and Garrett Maines. Man, oh man, what a finish here for the season opener in the Tuesday Night Thunder Series. Let's go back live here, see if Baker's burning it down. Sure enough, he is. He's excited about it. And it was, tell you what though, he earned it, Dawson. He stayed up front all race, played his cards right. And like he said, he needed to get that win out of the way to lock himself in. And now he's got that. So now it's going to be just trying to see if he can collect some more money and some more points here for the rest of the way.
Yeah, I really did think Garrett Maines had the run to beat right there. I thought he made the right moves at the right time. He had the right help and Daniel Eberhard, and I thought Garrett got through the wreck. I thought for sure he was going to be able to make the move and get the victory, but man, Baker and Mogard come out of nowhere right there and basically steal that one away from Garrett Maines.
And going to take a look at the results here. At the same time as we do so, we'll play that final lap for you. But looking at the results here for the night, it's going to be Matthew Baker with the win. Jared Mogard finishes up in second. Garrett Maines third. Daniel Eberhard back in fourth with John Ward in fifth. Brock Westmoreland back in sixth. Cody Nagels in seventh. Mark Vondell eighth. Andrew Navarro in ninth. Dylan Jones in 10th.
Josh McCullough will finish 11th tonight. Heath Job 12th. Devin Ray 13th. Jason Maines 14th. David Sheets 15th. John Mullahan 16th. Chris McCullough 17th. Logan York in 18th. Mike Davenport in 19th. And Matt Lee rounding out the top 20.
21st is going to be Andrew McGonigal, 22nd. Jeff Merck. Kenneth Stamper finishes 23rd. Trevor Osbornoff, 24th. Rhett Tucker, 25th. Ken McCall Jr., 26th. Nathan Rogan, 27th. Sean Hill, 28th. John Darnell in 29th. Brandon Broadfoot in 30th. William Scott, 31st. And Sean Corbett rounding the field out tonight in 32nd position. All right, well, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
All right, I've caught up with our third place finisher, the man who I thought was going to win the race there at the end, Garrett Maines. Hey, Garrett, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, I really did think you had it in the tri-oval. Obviously, you come up a little bit short, but hey, you ran a great race, made some great moves, looked very comfortable out there in the Xfinity car. So how'd you feel about your night?
I feel like I blew it. We were all really struggling with, this car was kind of bumper hooking people left and right, and it was hard to judge when it was going to happen because it wasn't happening every time. Is definitely played a role in our downfall at the end and our success. But I thought Baker was going to fall off of me and not be able to get his run back up in time. And my fear was that if I got back to Eberhard's bumper, that I would kind of push him away and not be able to get back to his outside to pass him. I thought my run would stall since it was just two of us. And I was wrong because by making that move, Baker actually was able to get a run. I didn't time it right. I feel like I could have played that a little bit better. It's tough to say, but man, lost that at the last second. We definitely were in the position to bag that race up. But it kind of is what it is. I hate it for Eberhard. He definitely had a good shot there to, finish first or second had I just stuck with him a little bit longer. Just didn't make the right move, is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But you guys come home with really great runs anyway. And judging by that new format, you guys are going to need to get some points. We heard Baker talking about it to us earlier. And so you come home with third tonight. And so kind of, take me through what that does for you as a driver. The momentum is huge, especially on a super speedway. So it still has to feel pretty good to get a good run, especially knowing that the playoffs are looming.
Yeah, I haven't been really able to run this league. So to be able to get in and, know that I'm actually going to be able to run the full season this time because I don't have the Coke Series stuff, or thankfully I don't have Contender at all. I'll get to run all of them, or at least most of them. So to have a shot this season, like I did, season one, I think it's a good start. Definitely, now that there's a win and you're in, I feel like that kind of puts pressure on us to win, but I also feel like as far as points go, I'm usually right where I need to be. I had a really bad streak of bad luck, but I also wasn't running all the time and just, I was kind of in a downward spiral due to a lot of different factors at the time. So definitely, good to get off on the right foot for this year. And yeah, nothing wrong with a third in the stage and a third in the race. That's probably going to put us P1 or P2 in points. So good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. A great way to start for you. You come home third tonight. While we have you for a second, anybody you want to thank or shout out after your effort tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to give a huge shout out to Cover Seal, Bucked Up, all the guys at FGR for a great season of the Coke Series, and Ryko as well. Also, big thank you to MCU Body and Linux for all their support. And happy to have them back on the car as a primary for the off season. So hopefully we can continue to have these colors up front.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking a second to talk to us. Congrats on that third place effort. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the broadcast.
And that was our third place finisher, Garrett Maines. We're moving next to the next step of the podium, and the man that really shocked myself and Austin up here in the booth, and that's Mr. Jared Mogart. Let's see what he's got to say about tonight. I got to imagine he's a pretty happy man right about now. Hey, Jared, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, yes.
Well, holy cow, you shocked us up here in the booth. You came out of nowhere flying in that last lap picture. You come home second, I think another 100 feet, and you probably are in victory lane right now, but, man, you got to be feeling pretty good. So, kind of take us through your mindset right about now.
Yeah, well, I was a little pissed off at going out there and sat in the back, and I don't know, I was just hoping for him to wreck there, and I did on the backstretch, and I figured I was going to get clipped at some point. I didn't even lift because, it's the last lap, so just went for it, made it through it, and I thought I was going to sit fourth, and then they got 3 wide there on the front stretch, and I got a run, and I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it. I just threw it to the top and thought I was going to bounce it off the wall, but there was a lane there, and was able to get second, so it was pretty cool.
Hey, it's the first time I've seen you personally here on Tuesday Night Thunder, and that's a heck of a first impression to make. So, what are your first impressions here racing on Tuesday nights, and how do you go on from here? You've certainly given the big dogs up front a little bit of a shock here tonight.
Yeah, I've known about this deal that Ron has going on, and it's good money. I mean, if you can get up there, and that's kind of one of the reasons I decided to join. But yeah, anybody who knows me knows I'm not a plate guy. I hate plate racing. Just so much out of your control, as we've seen tonight. You got to be really lucky. So it's kind of a crapshoot. But it's equal playing field for everybody for the most part. And as long as you can stay in the draft, you got a shot at winning it. So I don't know. We signed up to run the whole deal here this season. So obviously second place really makes you want to come back for sure. But yeah, we're gonna run it, have some fun, and see if we can't maybe steal a win or top 3 and make the playoffs, and have a shot at the title. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely a heck of a start to your season tonight for sure. The run you were looking for. And while we have you here for a second, any shout-outs, thank yous you want to give? Yeah,
TDS Internet, I buy power computers, Asus monitors, Treaty Race Reports, Ron for everything he does. Like I said, it's a pretty stout deal he's got going on, and 30 drivers on a Tuesday shows that he has a good thing going. So glad to be a part of it, and then you guys for doing the broadcast, and everybody tuning in. Hopefully they like the wrecks. Hopefully they like the finish. So we'll see how next week goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks for talking to us. Thanks for taking a second. Go enjoy it. Congratulations on a huge effort out of you tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you. Congrats to Matt as well on the dub. Well deserved.
All right, and that's going to bring in your winner, Matthew Baker. Baker, this is Austin Dawson up the booth. You got a copy?
What's up, man?
All right, well, you bring home the win tonight. You talked about it when we were talking to you in the race earlier that you want to get that win out of the way so that you kind of know that you're locked in. We know that you'll run 75% of the races. So now that you got that out of the way, what's going to be the game plan the rest of the way, and how you feeling there? That was a crazy finish.
Yeah, I just think help the teammates, and honestly, help the league overall, improve the racing. I think we're going to try and stick to this B car, work on the setup, and figure out what's best moving forward for the league. I mean, there's a lot of wrecks there that happened that was set up and car induced. It really wasn't anything on the drivers. I mean, you saw down the backstretch there, Jason was 6 inches offset to my left, and it almost killed me, hooked me down to the inside into Mollahan, and I was able to hang on. But yeah, it was a good finish. But just got to thank the teammates who weren't really up there towards the end of the race. They were involved in some of the carnage, so glad I could get the win for him and make a move on the outside. I told you I was over Garrett's moves with the blocking and throwing late blocks. It's it's hard racing. That's just how he races. But I wasn't putting up with it there at the end, and was glad I was able to go to the outside and get the win.
I mean, break us down a little bit more through that final straightaway there. Coming off of turn 4, initially, did you think you'd have the run? And then when you saw Garrett split, was the initial thought 3 wide, or were you going to think about maybe pushing Daniel? I mean, how did all that go through your mind and ultimately get you the win there?
Yeah, I knew the run was going to be pretty good for me to get the outside of Garrett. It's just if he was going to throw the block. I knew I could double move and really get up to the top lane. I kind of feel like I lulled him to sleep whenever I went to the middle, because when I made the initial move, I made it look like I was going to go and push him, and then I kind of half a lane jerked it back up to the top lane. He just didn't have time to really block. He had to go back down and try and side draft Daniel there to get second, but was able to grab the quarter panel. But I really didn't think I had a shot after almost getting turned down the backstretch. But again, yeah, it's just a great finish, and I really want this car to be what it is capable of. I mean, you've ran the B Opens this past week. You know what kind of racing that it can put on. I think together as an RMR group, we can come together and put together a good setup for Ron and put together a really good broadcast and a really good racing this season.
Certainly, we'll look forward to it. Before we let you go, though, tonight to enjoy your winnings, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just thanks to AVG Motorsports, Coasting Thunder, Baker & Son Construction, Mark, good to see Sean back there. Back racing with us after being in officials for a week. Cody, Matt, they all had their times up front. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Thanks to Martin Sports. This is the throwback scene that I'm running right now. Don't have him on there, but we'll get that updated for this season. Hopefully we can park it back in victory lane next week. I think the mentality is to try and get the teammates the win, but ultimately I'd like to be in victory lane every chance I get.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us. And again, congrats on the season opener win here at Talladega. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, buddy. All
right. And that's just going to about wrap things up. You heard Baker, and Dawson, I think he said it perfectly. the racing is going to be phenomenal. They just have to get things sorted out. We've both been in the B car, and we saw the finish, right? The racing's there. It's just certain things, either via the setup, some of the issues with netcode that you just kind of out of your control as a driver, but hopefully they'll get better as the season goes on. And I mean, hey, towards the end of last season, we saw a lot of great racing in the trucks. Hopefully towards the end of this season, we'll see the same thing, but in the Xfinity cars.
Yeah, it's an adjustment period, and these guys getting used to each other and getting re-acclimated with the car. And like you heard Baker talking about, and you just pointed on it, the setup does need some work. I even noticed that running some open races last week. Just noticing the difference between the setup these guys had tonight and the setup I was on last week. It was a huge difference. So hopefully they can get something built that works and that provides us some great racing. I can't wait though. We saw flashes tonight, and certainly that finish lived up to the hype.
Certainly did. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us here at Ghost Racing Network. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I hope, as always, that you guys did enjoy. And again, we'll be back next Tuesday for race number 2 for Season 3 of Tuesday Night Thunder. Thank you again all for coming out. And until next time, have a good night.